really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
A woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Cringe, Eric Butler. Welcome everybody. We're demonetized already. I'm happy to report. Seconds in.
Is it because of the AJ reference in the title?
Perhaps it must be.
Be it.
Could be, or else we would have made millions of dollars off of it. How are you, Eric Butler? I've been sick for a week.
Yeah, well, I'm living the dream. Definitely not sick here. Yeah, I can't complain. It has gotten a little bit cold here in Arizona.
Oh, poor
so
you.
we got down to I think like 60, 65. I don't know what that is in Canada.
That's like 15, 17 maybe.
Yeah, so I think this is the rock bottom, and hopefully we're gonna bounce back up soon. I think that's it.
See, there it is. I got I don't know. I had some sort of non-Rona flu, a traditional flu, let's call it.
Which doesn't really exist anymore.
You know, you're right. It doesn't exist anymore. And I've used it as an opportunity to, I think I drank coffee every day for 2 years. And now I drank it once during one of the days I was sick, like last Tuesday or something. And I haven't had a diet soda. I've had one of those as well. I had one of those 2 days ago. So I guess I'm going through withdrawals on 97 different things, and it's keeping me sick. Who knows? But
those Pepsi Zeros or whatever.
Whatever, Eric, right? You don't know. You don't know. Sean Penn, for some reason, is in the Ukraine. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, how come this guy is like always in on these big stories? It's like he gets a tip from the media. Remember when he was in like the search for El Chapo and he was involved in that?
I do vaguely remember that. It wouldn't be surprising to me. I feel like this is kind of like how CNN got a tip that when they were going to go pinch Roger Stone, and all of the CNN cameras just happen to be there. It's like, wait a minute, this is the FBI or the DOJ tipping off the fake news? That's what this feels like. It's like, oh, so Sean Penn was there. He was ready to get the scoop as soon as it happened for some reason.
Well, apparently he's been there for, I don't know, a year or something. Sean Penn in Ukraine filming documentary as Russia invades.
Okay, so he's been there for a while. That I didn't know that. So I guess that's
since last year. And he flew to Ukraine early this week to get a first-hand look at the war. And look how cool he thinks he is. He's just like, I'm here in my bomber jacket, my aviators. And for some reason, he's in the briefings, like with the Ukrainian government. And he's meeting with the president, which we're going to see right here. Yeah. And like the best part of this article is that it says it's unclear whether or not he speaks Ukrainian. Wearing sunglasses and a bomber jacket, a haggard-looking Penn appeared to be listening closely to the briefing held at the president's office, although it wasn't clear if he speaks Ukrainian. Later on, the president posted an Instagram story showing a meeting between him and Penn in a sparsely decorated room, which was this picture again. A sparsely decorated room. There's nothing there.
So this also, I'm sorry. This also, I can't help but think about Ja Rule. Like, what would Ja do right now? Like, this reminds me of that old Dave Chappelle joke when, was it 9/11? Something big happened, and they're like, well, let's see what Ja Rule has to say about this. That's what this reminds me of. Do you not remember that old Chappelle joke? He's like, we got to figure out what Ja thinks about this. That's what this reminds me of. It's like, who cares what Sean Penn thinks about it? But it also makes sense. I don't know if you saw Anomaly, who posted a reel recently in the last, I don't know, couple days on his Instagram.
That thing about black couples?
Oh, no,
his Instagram, no, his Twitter.
No, that's interesting. I might have to look into that. I haven't seen that one, but he posted this little reel about how the president of Ukraine was an actor, and like in 2010 or 2012 or something, he literally starred in a movie about him becoming the president, and then he went on to become the president. So something, I've never been to Ukraine. I am not even going to pretend that I know anything about it, but their whole kerfuffle with Joe Biden, and the who is it? If the prosecutor doesn't get fired, then it's just something seems a little bit off. Now I can't testify to how Russia is an upstanding global citizen. I don't know anything about them either, but Ukraine also seems to be a little bit corrupt. But now Sean Penn and the Democratic Party are going to get to paint them as heroes and victims of big mean Putin. And obviously, we're going to be able to blame this on Trump, and we're going to be able to blame all of our problems from here on out, obviously, on the Ukraine crisis.
Well, it's going to cement a reason to keep giving money to Ukraine even after, Biden's out of office, and anybody who does anything otherwise is a monster, because they could be taken over at any minute. But I liked at the end of this, it says he went to Haiti in 2010 and helped refugees there. He also once dined with Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and did a secret interview with him. Reps for Penn did not immediately return a request for comment. So the title was about
Sean
Penn
Haiti
and
thing,
Alex Jones. What about it?
The Haiti thing, I don't know all the details on that either, but isn't that where everybody was just getting over on the Haitians, from Hillary Clinton down to Wyclef Jean? They were all just sort of using this as like a scam to collect money for themselves?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Alex Jones made a prediction about this, whether how accurate you think it is or not, or if it's even that much of a prediction. Let's go ahead and play it.
But we're looking at a giant war in February right now. Currently, that's the projections, with the top people on the earth who claim they're not with the New World Order Combine. Is war in February. And this is the type of time, like right before World War I, right before World War II, when everything kicks off.
So that was apparently in November. What are you taking from that, Eric?
Yeah, look, we all know this is one of the huge reasons why they have to censor this man with all of their might, get him off the internet, and who knows where he's getting some of this information from. But I think you would be silly to just continually call him crazy and totally write him off. That's what they want, right? That's the same way they built up the term conspiracy theorist even before Alex Jones was popular. It's all fake. It's to point you in the wrong direction and give you the mis or disinformation, of course, and claim that everything they're saying is the honest to God's truth. Now, I think we all know that that's completely wrong. And it's just hilarious to watch this guy be right time after time after time. And no matter what happens, certain people still aren't waking up, because he's been so successfully smeared. And I think no shade, but I feel like the same thing has happened to Rebel News too. Like, you guys have been successfully smeared to the point where you could literally report, there is a truck parked out front of my apartment, and people would say, no, there's not. It's like they've been conditioned so heavily to not believe what he says. And there's certain outlets, I think Breitbart too is in there, or they'll just be like, well, that's a far right wing. And the smears just continue on. We've hopped now from, it was Australia, then of course it was Canada, and now it's Ukraine. We had to me, this is just another thing, bro. It's just another shiny new object, as far as because we'll see now that Eric Adams is now being pressured by the commissioner of the NBA to back off the mandates. So think about that, right? The NBA was, if I recall correctly, one of the first big businesses to bow down to Rona. And they stopped everything at the beginning because it was so super scary. But now, in this, going into year 3, heading into the 3rd year of this, Adam Silver is now petitioning Eric Adams in New York to say, let's back off. And I think we all know that the NBA is basically the middleman between America and China, bro. The NBA is basically, they're owned by Nike, and Nike is basically owned by China. So maybe I'm starting to look like Charlie with the, the conspiracy board, but it's a little bit strange to me that how in the same week, people from California and New York are backing off of their vax mandates at the same time that World War III basically starts, and it, of course, it's surrounding the country that Joe Biden went to bat for, and the same reason why Donald Trump got impeached the first time. So if anybody is just going to look at all of this and continue to say that they're completely unrelated, there's all coincidences, it's nothing we should be worried about, I think you should take a step back and look at it all over again, because there's something going on here. I can't say what it is. Who knows? But it's not normal. That's all I can say.
One of the things I'm reading is a trending thing of Africans in Ukraine, and people are saying that Africans are facing racism as they leave the country. So I'm guessing this is like Russian propaganda going the other way about how mean Ukrainians are. So this is allegedly Africans not being allowed to get on trains out of Ukraine. Did not realize there were so many. Maybe the train's just full. I don't know. This is one of the things that's being shared online right now.
So wait, so now this is painting the Ukrainians as being racist.
Correct. That's what this whole hashtag Africans in Ukraine is supposedly about. We met Africans at the border. They have been here for 2 days, but Ukrainian police army refuse to let them pass. It's pretty dark.
Okay. So now doesn't this kind of work against the narrative? Is this something that the mainstream is trying to keep out? Because aren't we supposed to be feeling nothing but empathy and pity, I guess, for Ukraine? So they can't be considered racist now. That's the worst. That's literally the worst thing to be called in the book.
This white girl is allowed on, though.
Okay.
There's no way of knowing what the actual situation is.
With anything, basically, at this point. Like, we just don't know. Nobody's going to tell you the truth.
I'm very suspicious of all of this because of Joe Biden's relationship with Ukraine. All of a sudden, Ukraine's super innocent. Now, of course, nobody wants anybody to be invaded or to be bombed or anything like that. But the country that employs Joe Biden's son, that he's got great involvement with, usually known as the most corrupt country in the world, frankly, just this oligarchy, constant territorial wars with Russia. They had, because of the energy pipelines and everything, and the sea and Crimea and everything. And there are people in Ukraine who want to be taken back by Russians, but there's obviously a ton of Ukrainians that don't. I don't just all of a sudden be like, oh, poor Ukraine. I'm not poor Russia either. I don't care. Like, ostensibly, I don't really care about either of them. I care about the loss of human life, but there's so many problems right now, and there's so many conflicts in the world. It's just one of those situations to me. It's like, why is it this specific conflict that we are being told to focus on right now? And while Russia's bombing places in Ukraine, I'm not seeing videos of, mass civilian casualties. I'm not seeing anything like that. And the U.S. is still buying oil from Russia as we speak, I believe. So there's so much going on here that nobody trusts what exactly is being told to them anymore. And when I see, I stand with Ukraine and the little Ukrainian hearts, and all of a sudden Ukraine's talk of the town, the news media has all of a sudden this super great thing that they want to push. They want everybody to be happy about. They want everybody to be supportive about. Keep tuning in. Keep supporting Ukraine. That, to me, is what's fishy. When the U.S. Corporate media is so gung-ho about something that they're pushing it 24/7, usually something is afoot. If you think about the other things that they do 24/7, whether it's Trump, Russia, coronavirus, I don't know, the Iraq war, when that was happening, of course, that's when the U.S. is involved. But things that aren't actually, affecting Americans' day-to-day lives, and this is 24/7 news coverage, and it happens to be the same country that the the president of the United States is involved with controversially, and so is his son, and all this and that and the other. It's very hard for me to get on board and just be like, you know what, this is just a regular territorial battle where Russia wants to expand its borders again and get closer to the sea. It's hard for me to believe that, but I will say that I did not think that there would be any attack. I thought that the Americans were completely full of shit on that. Now, they claimed it was going to come from a false flag and everything, and that didn't happen. But I was a little bit surprised that it actually happened. But I'm not as sympathetic as I think everybody else is. And it's not because I don't care about, random people getting attacked. That's never a good thing. It's just that it's so hard to trust anything that they're saying that there's got to be two sides of the story here. And I'd like to know what the Russian side is, other than just like, we want this territory, which is usually what it is for sure. But when this happens, you don't usually get this full, the whole social media push, the black square or the let's stand with the rainforest. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, and I personally just don't like the timing, bro. Like, in the same week that California is backing off, and Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul, they're all sort of backing off on the mask, except for the school kids. The school kids still have to wear it in some places. It's just a little bit strange that we would never there would never be one day where there's not something looming over your head that these mainstream hacks are gonna harass people with in order to get them to, I don't know, just be genuinely afraid of something, not think critically about anything. It's like, so you mean to tell me that just as this is all the smoke is finally starting to clear. Now, obviously, there's still going to be millions of people who are damaged beyond repair, and Fauci could come on 3 times a day for the next 2 years and tell you that the air is safe to breathe, but it's too late for them. Like I always say, you can't put toothpaste back in the tube. But when this is finally starting to clear up a little bit as far as Rona is concerned, it's almost to me similar as to how, if you think back to summer of 2020, when in New York City things were about to start reopening, and just magically at the end of May, early June, George Floyd happened, and now businesses that were poised to reopen in the next 2 to 3 days are now basically boarded up because of the peaceful protest. That's what this reminds me of, right? It's like, okay, people are finally even the crazy Kool-Aid drinkers are finally starting to deal with the Rona hysteria, right? Like, people that got the poke 2 and 3 times are like, all right, enough of that. And just in the nick of time, so that we can blame all of our problems on something, we have to have a scapegoat, because it's not our policy positions, it's not the governance, it's not printing trillions of dollars in a span of 6 months or whatever. None of that is our problem. This problem is now all because of Ukraine, as we saw. I think it was CBS that just got completely lambasted for saying, oh, well, gas prices are being caused by the Ukraine crisis. They can never go a day without instilling fear into people and just telling you that if you don't obey us, if you don't believe us, then you're going to die. And if it's not you, just know that if you don't agree with the route that the Joe Biden administration and Psaki and all these people, if you don't agree with what they're saying, you are a traitor. If you don't hate Vladimir Putin and Russia the same way that you were trained to hate Donald Trump, then you are obviously a racist. You don't care if people die. You don't care if big bad Putin comes in and destroys an entire country, then you are just one of the most evil people on earth. It's the same playbook, right? I mean, we literally saw that if you don't wear a mask, then you don't care about people's life. If you aren't vocally opposed to Vladimir Putin and whatever Hillary Clinton is pumping into people's heads and the mainstream media, if you're not for that, then this is now the division tool. So it used to be black and white. It used to be Latinx and transgender. And then we moved on to vaxxed versus unvaxxed. And now it's like, do you believe everything the media tells you about Russia? If you don't, then you're a right-wing, racist, horse worm Rogan supporter. And it has to be something. There can never be one day where there's no manipulation tactic happening.
Yeah, and it's happening more rapidly. You see it when it went from coronavirus, and you saw it when it went from climate change and, like I mentioned, wildfires. It almost happens like immediately one day, and then to the next day, if something catches fire, then they're going to run with it because it's whatever gets them the biggest ratings and distracts you from whatever's going on. I mean, this happens just as Joe Biden is, I don't know, it's hard to say looks the worst ever, but he looks the worst ever. You can barely speak, even worse at this point. And all the trucker convoys have just finished. The new one's starting in the United States, and all of a sudden all the rollbacks are happening, and then we go from, this big threat. There's this big threat of these truckers and international problems here, and everybody's rising up. And it does seem like convenient timing when everybody's getting together and rising up for their cause. Then now there's a big war on the other side of the planet we need to be worried about. So even the province of Ontario is sending money to Ukraine. It's like, this literally has nothing to do with us. It couldn't have less to do with us, but our province for some reason has to stand with, like, what has Ukraine done for us? What has Russia done for us? How has either one affected our lives in the last 20 years for us to, stand with them? There was no stand with Sudan. There was no stand with Yemenis people who had to deal with terrorists around them at all times. There was no stand with Australia, not in the mainstream media. There was no stand with
Canada in the mainstream media.
Yeah, there was no stand with the country of Georgia when Georgia was being invaded by. Remember, Russia invaded Georgia, a Christian country, a few years ago. There was no stand with Georgia. There was no change your Facebook profile picture to that flag. There was none of that because George Biden, George Floyd does not do business in the Ukraine. He might one day, but Joe Biden doesn't do business in Georgia. Ukraine is unique in the fact that they're pretty much run by corruption, and the Clintons and the Obamas and the whole deep state thing, and the Bidens, they all have business in there. And they've always been on their side. They've always been funneling weapons to them. Now, Russia's army is much better than the Ukraine, obviously. That's why they're sweeping in virtually, a few things have been shot down here and there. But the Ukrainian army has new technology that the U.S. gives to them, but it's not like a technologically advanced army. Russia's army is not going to be as good as the Chinese or the Americans, but they're, let's just say for argument's sake, they're 15 to 20 years behind the most modern army. Ukraine's way further behind that. They have much less money. They have much less equipment, much less people is the big thing. So they can shoot stuff down with javelins. They can blow up a few tanks with advanced missiles that the U.S. gives them. But their infrastructure of their military is not going to be there. Why? Because this is a country that's basically been in turmoil for a long time because they keep doing this whole government switch out thing, and they're in constant conflict, and it's the perfect place for corruption. You talk about places in the Middle East, Afghanistan, it's constant revolving door of people being in charge. Perfect place for corruption. It's not like, it's just so weird that all of a sudden, let's care about this country that's historically so corrupt that it's called the most corrupt country in the world, and boohoo them. It's like China, like what's an equivalent maybe? Like Iran gets invaded all of a sudden by like China, maybe. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, stand with Iran, the poor Iranian regime. It doesn't make any sense, Eric.
Well, if they were invaded by China, if Iran was invaded by China, I think the mainstream media here would have us be working on China's side. But I guess this for me basically is the last. Okay, not the last, because this will not be the last issue that they foist on us. But this is them, in my opinion, obviously, just trying to clean up Joe Biden and the establishment mess. Because after all of the inflation, the city violence, homelessness, remember we had the rioting and looting for Black Lives, but now we're just looting because we need a new Gucci bag. All of this stuff that is happening it basically wipes the whole slate clean, because now, I mean, if war is coming around the corner, then you have to stand with, we can't be talking about different leaders. We can't be questioning our leader at this point in time, because war is coming around the corner. You have to just stand in support of whoever is in charge in the US. Otherwise, you're completely anti-American. That's all this is, I think. With all the little bits of little tiny corruption that's added up over the years, and the Democrats and Biden and all that stuff, right now, I think the timing is just perfect enough to where they can wipe the slate clean with everything else and say, you have to stand with us now, because, again, before your life was in danger because of Rona, but now it's because Putin is going to nuke you or whatever. Putin is going to nuke a Ukrainian grandma. So you have to get on board with Joe Biden and the agenda. Otherwise, you, of course, will be labeled a domestic terrorist once again.
Only Joe Biden can save us.
Are you sure you know where the impound yard is?
Oh, stop stalling. Come on.
I can't think. It's all this noise.
Or is it because I've built a stronghold around Greenland? I've driven you out of Western Europe? And I've left you teetering on the brink of complete annihilation.
I'm not beaten yet. I still have armies in the Ukraine.
The Ukraine. You know what the Ukraine is? It's a sitting duck. A road apple, Newman. The Ukraine is weak. It's feeble. I think it's time to put the hurt on the Ukraine.
I come from Ukraine. You not say Ukraine weak.
Yeah, well, we're playing a game here, pal.
Ukraine is came to you. How about I take a little Boris?
And then he's running down the street with it because he doesn't trust Newman with the board.
Yeah, that's so funny to me, because they were both guarding the board so closely, like their lives depended on it. Like this game is really gonna take them somewhere, and then it just gets smashed by the guy in the train.
Well, it never made sense to me how he was to keep the board in proper shape while he's running it down the street, because they're towing his car.
Hey, it's Seinfeld, bro. You gotta look over some of those plot holes. It's classic stuff.
The one I watched last night was The Race. That's I think one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, they're
Jerry
all
races the guy.
Yeah. That he got the head start in high school. Absolutely.
Oh, classic. The big race.
Oh yeah, and George is pretending that they're not friends. Oh, it's classic.
Yeah, he's a millionaire or whatever, a billionaire. Let's do a quick part of Joe Rogan here, trash talking Bill Gates. Get a little Bill Gates into us. It's pretty funny.
When a guy like that says that, I'm like, are you making money because of this? Like, why are you saying that? And by the way, you look like shit. Like, because if you're eating those plant-based burgers or whatever the fuck you're doing, like, you're obese. Like, a guy like that telling people about he's got these breasts and this gut, and I'm like, this is crazy. You're one of the richest guys on earth. You have access to the best nutrients, you could have an amazing trainer. You could be in phenomenal shape, and you're giving out public health advice. You're giving out health advice, and you're sick. It's like literally like a non-athlete trying to coach professionals. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How are you giving any health advice when you look like that? Your health is piss poor. I'm not a doctor, but when you've got man boobs and a gut and you're walking around, you have these like toothpick arms. I'm like, hey, buddy, you're not healthy.
I never even really thought about that, about how Bill Gates, yes, obviously nobody trusts him, and he's supposed to be the expert on everything now, but he is abnormally out of shape for a billionaire. You could have, with the amount of money Bill Gates has, you could literally have a person dedicated to watching your vital signs at all times, pay them $250,000 a year because it's nothing to you, and just be like, pay attention to my vitamin levels and my entire health at all times, and then a chef to cook you whatever you want anytime you want. And he is very out of shape, and it's really weird that we always take these people, like we take Fauci, we take Bill Gates, like these people that are assigned to be our health overlords. It's really weird. Why isn't like I don't know, Richard Simmons? I was going to say these guys, it's called Body Break in Canada. I doubt you've ever heard of it. But is there a person when you were a kid that was like a figure, like afternoon TV or something for health?
Like Billy Blanks or something, like the Thai bow or something like that. But also this is really funny though, because didn't Bill Gates, and I never know anymore if these clips are recent or if these clips are old or whatever it is, but there was that other clip of him, at least it went viral fairly recently, maybe over the last week while you were sick with Rona new variant or whatever
COVID
it was.
3000.
COVID 3000. Where he's comparing wearing a mask to wearing pants like a child. Like, well, it's the same thing, dude. It's not the same as wearing pants, because I mean, I'll spare you the graphic details, but you don't breathe, like,
don't you?
Right. But I'm not a doctor, so I'm not really allowed to say that either. But covering your nose and mouth for 8 hours a day if you're a little kid to go to school is not the same as wearing pants. It's not. That's the like little straw man that they use. And remember that old meme, that old graphic that was going around of the guys like peeing on each other, and one was wearing pants and one wasn't wearing pants, and then they both weren't wearing pants, and they both are wearing pants, and they try to liken the use of pants to the same as a face mask, when it's clearly not. It's clearly not. And the last thing about Bill Gates, I mean, we're told over and over and over again that you can't weigh in if you're not a doctor. But obviously, Bill Gates, there comes an income level or a net worth that overrides all of it clearly, right? Like, Joe Rogan is not a doctor, but he's also not quite as rich as Bill Gates.
That's right.
Right. And Joe Rogan is filthy rich. I think we can all agree that, like, I'm not in his pockets. I don't know. But if you're getting more viewers than basically all of the mainstream media combined, I assume, you get $100 million from Spotify, and then Rumble offers you this and these grills and these whatever endorsements you have. It doesn't put you on a level to where Bill Gates, who is not a doctor, can still look at Joe Rogan and say, "You're not a doctor. We're not listening to you." But people still listen to Bill because why?
He made computers. There was this so like during commercials and stuff when we were kids here, there's this thing called Body Break is what I was talking about. And this is what it was.
Wow. Looks, is this 90s? This looks a little old, bro. This is
the 90s almost. Yeah.
Okay. No,
my mom's haircut there, but so that's what I was saying. Like, is there anybody like that? And then I go onto their current website, and the first video is how we battled racism. And
no,
that's the first thing.
Of course it is. Of course it is. I'm sure we had something like that. I don't know. It reminds me of like Global Guts on Nickelodeon. That was sort of like
Global Guts.
You don't remember that?
We don't have Nickelodeon here, Eric. We had never had anything like Nickelodeon. Our like children's channel called YTV, which I think is just like youth TV or something. And my microphone is not going to fall. Okay. And of course the Family Channel, which is where all those terrible shows like iCarly and stuff. I don't know. I never watched it, but that's one of them I know. Global Guts.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have any.
Well, it was like
Nickelodeon.
It was like it was like a children's Olympic. I don't know. That's you were supposed to like get in. I don't know if you were supposed to get in shape, but maybe it was supposed to like inspire you. You could climb the rock and all this stuff.
You know what? I saw this, but I didn't know what it was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I liked better than this was the Crypt Keeper show that had like
the Crypt Keeper looks like Nancy Pelosi.
Yes, of course, but there was a version where they went to like Universal Studios or something, and they had like a Crypt Keeper themed obstacle course show that was like every week. That's what kept me in shape as a kid.
I mean, I was in better shape back then, running track and playing basketball and stuff. I've lost a step since then.
You were playing
and golf.
Well, I'll keep the racism to a minimum here today. I want to say basketball, track and field.
Well, I was playing. Look, I grew up. I was playing basketball, and then
So
I don't
was
know.
Believe it or not.
I maybe didn't get the growth spurt around 7th or 8th grade that a whole bunch of other kids did.
Same here, dude. Same here.
So then I was like, you know what? I'm switching to golf, and that's what happened. Now, of course, the golf kids were much more degenerate. The basketball kids were. That's where. Look, I haven't really drank soda since high school because of those basketball kids. Now I dabbled a little bit in soda during college, with of vodka Sprite or something. But it was funny because the basketball kids,
if you will.
No comment. The basketball kids were far more diligent when it came to like the healthy stuff. And then when I got on the golf course and they were like smoking weed out of a Gatorade bottle, and it was just a completely different thing, but neither here nor there.
Black guys on my basketball team never tried to tell me about nutrition at all. They would steal from me. They'd give it back, but if I left anything around, then they went through it all. But the people who I found were most like too intense about their health were the French guys I was with in the army. Now these French guys were so like metrosexuals, unbelievable. I once watched a guy put on 3 lotions after shaving his face. That was way too many. They shaved their legs, their armpits, their chest, their arms. They gel their hair to go to the gym. We'd be eating breakfast, and they'd be like, "Do you need that much food? Are you going to burn that many calories today? You need that much food?" It's like, we're in the military here. I don't like. Why do we need to watch like the extra serving of scrambled eggs I have? But like the French guys are the most vain.
I just picture them
into, like,
smoking cigarettes, though. No, they didn't smoke cigarettes. Okay,
these new Frenchmen, they're too pretty. They're too into their looks, and it was very easy to break them mentally in sports. If they'd give up pretty quickly in hockey if we started beating them.
All right, they're a little too soft. Then fair enough.
Yes, my French people. Eric Adams is saying to get out of your pajamas. The mayor of New York, whom has been a big disappointment. I think he hasn't really done anything besides lessen bail conditions, I believe. Which is why didn't a woman get stabbed recently? An Asian woman got stabbed to death by a guy who followed her home, and he was out on bail for a bunch of crimes, and he stalked her and stabbed her like 30 times or something like that. If you didn't hear about that, no.
Well, the stories are coming out literally every day. There's another story. They're impossible to keep track of. It's a regular thing in New York, and I will say, if I understand this correctly, I don't think he was behind the bail reform. I think it was de Blasio.
Well, he's the one who said that they shouldn't be in prison for some of the like crimes where it's like you rob somebody with a gun, but you don't actually shoot them. I think it was that sort of stuff.
Okay, well that's. I mean, the guy's he's an awful political hack. I'm not defending him by any stretch of the imagination, but I think because this is what was weird to me is that a couple weeks ago when Eric Adams jumped out the window and said the press is racist and the newsrooms need to diversify so that when I look out at my press conferences, I will see people who look like me. Now, granted, he's a 60-year-old man, bro. Why are you so worried about people that quote look like you? That's the lamest, stupidest excuse. But these people, that's par for the course.
Also very weird.
Well, but so when he claimed that the media was racist, he said that because, as I understand it, he was up in Albany, the capital of the state, trying to sort of reverse these awful bail reform laws. And his former Democrats up in Albany weren't going for it. So he basically failed. He failed at trying to, quote unquote, bring a little bit of safety to New York City. And that failure that was handed to him by Democrats in Albany was played up by the media as a failure for Eric Adams. Now he's going to fail no matter what, because failure for him is actually is actually mission accomplished, right? Like we can all sit here and pretend that he's trying to help the city, but I think we all know that this is a managed decline. Now, perhaps it's gotten a little bit out of control, and they maybe didn't want it to go quite as fast and as awful as it has been. But it's just funny that he is blaming not only his Democratic colleagues in Albany, but his Democratic colleagues also in the media for being racist, for handing him a loss on the bail reform that is supposed to be helping the city. And it's just a awful tangled web that they have that he's painted himself into this corner. The rest of the Democrats in New York have painted themselves into this corner. And when all else fails, you just say the word racism, and sometimes it works. Most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And then you just go on to the next thing and blame it on. Look, the politics in New York is so corrupt. I mean, all the way to the core. There's nowhere you can take your grievances, because all the way up at the top of that ladder, it's some New York Supreme Court justice who's still going to say, well, I follow the science, and that's why kids still need to be wearing a mask. Even though, okay, I take that back, because I think that the New York State Supreme Court said kids should not be forced to wear masks. And what did Eric Adams do? He said, no, we're not, whatever. Who cares what the New York Supreme Court says? So the point I'm making is, no matter what happens, these people have quite literally no self-awareness, or I guess they do and they just don't care, because not caring is where they get their strength from. If they cared about looking like hypocrites, then nothing would work. But the hypocrisy is the point, right? So I said all that to say I can't stand Eric Adams, and now he is being leaned on. He's being leaned on by the NBA, and he's backing off of his thing and saying, oh, you can't stay in your pajamas. Now, what was it? 90 days ago, where they were still claiming that you can't go eat at a restaurant, you can't go anywhere without a mask. And I guess the science has just changed so much now that people need to get back to work. Google is doing the same thing. Have you seen that? Google is now backing off their vax requirements and getting people back into the office. It's all really strange to me. All right, while World War III is breaking out as well.
Well, they scared everybody into not going into work, and they paid them to stay home. So now Eric Adams doesn't want people to stay home, because a lot of things in New York require customer service. It's probably the transit. I mean, there's so many things. Like, I obviously haven't lived there, but it seems like it's one of those cities that does thrive on like everybody being around, and like needing to be people on the streets to buy food at restaurants, to buy food at vendors, to use the public transit, to all sorts of stuff. I don't know what else there is, but there's so many stores that maybe you shouldn't have shut them down the whole time. Maybe you shouldn't have done this. This wouldn't have happened, but now they're facing a shortage all over the place of people wanting to come back to work, and it's raising job prices. And I was just looking and found this article: 18 jobs that paid $20 an hour with little or no experience, and like proofreader, virtual assistant. But on top of that, there's like this taco place that's $20 an hour last year because they can't find people to hire. McDonald's was another one that was paying people $20 an hour. Here's Whataburger. Just looking through the list here. Panda Express, between $15 to $20 an hour. So all these places, and I'm hearing about this in other cities when I just watch shows about, like, in Texas and Tennessee and stuff like that. You can make like $20 an hour doing fast food. Imagine being a teenager and getting paid $20 an hour in a market that isn't like hyperinflated. It'd be insane. You'd have so much money on your hands.
Yeah, and we're still dealing with this crazy inflation, though. Like, I saw, and this maybe. Okay, I'm just gonna say it here, right? I used to pay $1.99 per pound for regular green grapes, not the organic or anything, just the regular green grapes. That price, since I've moved to Arizona, 5 months ago, has literally gone from $1.99 to $2.99. Every single thing. Every time I go to Trader Joe's, something that I buy has gone up 50 cents to $1. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like,
we also don't have that here.
Well, I like Trader Joe's a lot, and it was very sad to see what they did during the virus, and they were like the crazy super mask Nazis. They don't have them in South Dakota, so I didn't get to go there. But I mean, Trader Joe's is notoriously cheap, right? They sort of what do they call it, like vertically integrate or whatever, so they don't really have too many vendors. It's all like produced in their warehouse or whatever. However they do it, it's all Trader Joe's brand stuff, so it's cheaper.
I see.
But yeah, it's crazy though. But I can't imagine being what when you work fast food. I don't know, when you're in high school or something, maybe at the beginning of college, and you're getting $20 an hour to put fries in the thing, and you might still live at home because the $20 an hour, however inflated that is, it's still not really enough to go out on your own, live by yourself. Maybe you can have a couple roommates, but this is just, I mean, they've ruined everything, right? So they collapsed our economy with this stupid virus, and then when it might be starting to look up, oh, magically, now look, if my tinfoil hat is on tight, I would say that the establishment that we've come to know and love very deeply, you can call it the Democratic Party, or you can call it the elites, or you can call it whatever you want to call them, the cabal that fortified the election. They have still figured out a way to make sure that, okay, we can let Rona go by the wayside slowly but surely, but we're still gonna need something to push fear into these people. We're still gonna need something to berate them and say that they're not loyal if they don't agree with everything we do. So there's literally nothing better than a war, and here we are.
You can't say that, Eric. If it was hopefully we'll pay the Taco Bell in my area enough money to finally be fast. Generations have gone by, Eric, where the Taco Bell staff has turned to shit in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada, and I miss the days of guy with giant sideburns serving me my fry supreme. He was good. Me and my friend Joel had a preferred staff. We would learn their time when they worked, and that's when we would go to Taco Bell. Because the guy with giant sideburns. Yeah, well, it's not even that they hooked us up; that they were just fast and good. Now you can sit in the drive-thru for 30 minutes and be missing items. I don't know. Taco Bell cast. I found a random video. Let's watch it.
Can I get a reaction? I shouldn't be shocked that I've had a reaction.
No, it's just I've been this last for a week now. I'm coming here almost every day. First time somebody said something.
People that are walking in the wall every day. Provocative. Okay. And then they appear. You have to turn that off, or you're out of here.
Why is he getting kicked out for a Trump mask?
It's private property.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Oh, because you're 17 and you understand.
I'm not 17. I'm 21.
Turn off or leave.
7109 not today.
Cops coming.
Ooh, so scared.
Oh, ooh.
I'm wearing it right now.
Ma'am, you did not change it the first time.
Yes, I did.
You changed it when I asked you. I asked you to change it.
And you asked if I was going to keep it on, and I said yes.
Ma'am, I talked to the pilot and
I said yes.
Ma'am, the pilot and the flight
Under what conditions?
Because they don't feel comfortable with you on the aircraft.
Because I'm wearing a mask like you told me
to?
What? I'm sitting here. I haven't done anything.
Ma'am, I need you.
I literally have just put my mask on. I can do that, but I don't understand under what conditions.
And here's Dominique, just an FYI for Denver. The passenger's refusing to come off, and she's filming me.
Yes,
and she's filming me.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we don't need to see the rest of that. Eric, would you get off the flight, or would you cause a big stink even though people are yelling at you?
Well, a year ago, I would have got off. Today, it's big stink, 100%. Look, how many times do we have to say it? You know it, I know it, we all know it, that the stupid mask has never been about health and safety. It's been about control from day one. This is only proving their point, right? Because if it was about health and safety, it wouldn't matter. It could say, I slept with your mom last night, and it wouldn't matter because it was, but that's not what it's about. It's obviously about compliance and about making sure that you have like some of those January 6 guys, I think, right? Like they're trying to like re-educate them. Like if you just tell us that you don't like Donald Trump and you would never vote for him and you think that he should be in jail, then we'll let you go. They're trying to change your way of thinking, and it's failing miserably. And it wouldn't be so bad if they were trying to change everybody's way of thinking and tell you that you can't wear a Trump mask or you can't wear a Let's Go Brandon mask, which is already stupid because the masks are stupid. But they they're telling you right then and there that this literally has nothing to do with your health. We just need for you to capitulate to our weirdo demands. So we, the party of the party that follows the science, is gonna out of one side of their mouth tell you that Leah Thomas is the best female swimmer ever, and that weirdo health secretary assistant or whatever is a real woman. Those very same people are going to tell you that we need you to wear a mask, but not that type of mask. I mean, what more do you need to see to make this abundantly clear that it has nothing to do with health or safety? Now, me personally, I saw this a long time ago with the empty testing facility all the way back in April of 2020. So it's not new to me, but it's still mind-boggling that some people haven't figured this out yet. How is that possible?
I think that you just brought up the word of the day of Leah Thomas. That's what I think you did. And there seems to be news. We've got two articles here. One says Leah Thomas is no Jackie Robinson. This is from National Review. So that's really an opinion piece. But an exclusive here. UPenn Philly District Attorney ignores complaints about Leah Thomas's male nudity in women's locker room. So I guess the trans swimmer continues. We're on week 6 now, Eric. Week 6. And Justin Trudeau blackface somehow comes up.
It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
We're writing to report a potential violation of Code of Law section blah, blah, blah. Sexual harassment. Letter began. Violations based on reports that female swimmers have claimed they felt uncomfortable and definitely awkward. Doesn't always cover up. The letter was sent to the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, the Philadelphia Police Commissioner, Sheriff, UPenn's Executive Director of the Office of the Student Conduct, and the university's Title IX officer, that the serious claims and allegations made in this letter were seemingly ignored by all of them, based on what I was told, says the reporter. Here's the letter, it looks like. My own requests for comments were ignored. I emailed the district attorney's office and all these places. All the emails went unanswered. University of Pennsylvania policy is that if reports are made with or come to the attention of the following offices, they must ensure the appropriate action is taken, including notifying the university's AVP and Title IX officer. So I'm guessing nothing's going to happen there, Eric. Just screw the girls, I guess. Like, trans swimmers or bust.
Yeah, and we obviously have this 2-tiered justice system, right? So they can just, and we saw the same thing in New York, right? Like the New York State Supreme Court says we can't force kids to wear masks. Eric Adams just says, we're going to do it anyways. Even when the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court said, Biden's vax mandate was overreach. Then what does Biden come out and do? He says, well, you should do it anyways. Same thing with the eviction moratorium. Oh, well, we're going to make sure nobody has to pay rent because Rona is still happening. And then the Supreme Court says, you can't really do that. And then Biden says, yeah, I know it's illegal, but we're going to do it anyways, and it'll buy us time while it gets through the court. This is the exact same thing where they're like, yeah, we know that this is wrong. We know that this is illegal, but whatever, it works for us because we all know that if the shoe were on the other foot, so to speak, or if there was I guess you would never see.
Penis was on the other person?
Yeah. you would never, it wouldn't matter, right? Like, it's just, they only enforce things in one direction. I saw it when I was arrested. We've been through this before. It's just astonishing how the 2-tiered justice system continues to I mean, it continues to bludgeon people who just, bro, there's just
We're living
no
in a
way.
What's the trans equivalent to a patriarchy? The transiarchy?
Yeah, or what is Jericho Green calls them the Ku 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 Klux Trans. I don't know. He does it a lot funnier than I can do it. But that's what it is. They bludgeon you, bro. If you look with almost anything else, like with almost anything else, I'm open to all sides of the coin, or all points of view, 100%. But there's just, in this particular case, it just doesn't exist. Leah Thomas, we all seen the pictures. This guy's got this long wingspan. He's 6'4", whatever it is. It's just there's no hiding from it. How long are they going to hide from the truth? I mean, how long could this possibly go on?
You want to spend the last few minutes on talking about this Kanye documentary?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't like the voiceover guy. I get that he's the director and everything. What's his name?
Cootie.
Cootie. Yeah. I didn't. He always said that Kanye was doing stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how it was every single time he talked like this. What were we talking about? I messaged you and asked about this rapper named PD Crack that I'd never heard of, and it was just so bad.
I do remember PD Crack. The only thing is, PD Crack didn't even really make it to the one-hit wonder status. He was just kind of like a Rockefeller guy.
You notice how we can't get the screen, eh? Like, it's just the Netflix has some weird thing where you can't like put
so you can't share the
actual video. Look, it's just showing the subtitles.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They're so good at that somehow.
Yeah, it's like if you try to screenshot Netflix on your phone, it just comes up black.
Does it?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I think the same with Hulu as well. Like if you're watching it on your phone and you just like if I just see like a funny Seinfeld scene or something, you try to screenshot it, it just comes up black. But the documentary was great, bro. Obviously, you're talking to a big Kanye West fan, so there's you're not gonna hear anything surprising for me. Except, I mean, I would just say that it was fairly inspiring, right? You see all this. What we got 3 hours of documentary, and they just got to the dropout. Like they haven't even covered his career yet. This is just him getting started. So it's gonna be crazy, bro. We're talking about
I'm looking forward to it.
Tours, sneakers, Taylor Swift, Amber Rose, all sorts of things.
Kim Kardashian, because it's up to like now, right?
Well, so as I understand it, Cootie and I think the other guy's name is Chike or something. It's like a weird name. They were with Kanye from the very beginning, like we saw from, I don't know, when he was 21 or something. So 98 to 04, College Dropout came out in 04. I was still young. And then I heard it might have been another YouTube video or like a GQ interview or something where Cootie says that they parted ways after Kanye's mom died. So I guess Kanye kind of went a little ham in like 07, 08 when his mom died, and they didn't work together. They didn't speak for many years between like 07 and like 20 until like 2016 or something. So there's like a bunch of time where they didn't document anything, which totally makes sense because that's when he was really like, like now he's this is the end of his career, right? Like this is the end. I mean, I love Kanye, but this is, dude, you've been at it since 04. Like this is, it's over soon, right? Like this is the tail end. But in those peak years of that, graduation, 07, 08, 2010, 2012, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, when Kanye really was like on top of the world, I can imagine that he's like, dude, right now I can't really be working with the guy who made my first video. No shade. It's just like, bro, I'm like this mega star right now. I need Steven Spielberg to direct the video. I can't use the guy who I grew up with across the street in Chicago anymore.
Well, that's what he said with the Jesus Walks video, and it had like 3 different versions anyways.
That is true. That is true.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I've been trying to watch a lot of stuff like that lately, but none of it's as good. Like I started watching an Eminem one, and it's like it's mainly focused on like 2 reporters. Like I know more than these guys, and it's just interesting to see like how Rockefeller Records really worked and how they were just like basically we'll sign you and we'll give you no support until you show that you can become a star. Essentially,
Yeah, and I think I don't want to badmouth Rockefeller Records, but I feel like there was a point where they were still kind of maybe doing something that wasn't 100% legal. But that's just me. Like,
meaning what?
If you look into the history of a lot of these rap record labels, you will see that they are sort of a front for some other things that they might be doing.
Unbelievable. We'll leave it at that, Eric Butler. We'll leave it at that. Child trafficking. Unauthorized opinions. Thanks everybody for watching. A lot of people watching today. Pray for me and my illnesses.
Wait, before we go, really quick. What's the scene? I mean, where you're at? I mean, is the trucker convoy, has it worked? Are we going in the right direction? Okay.
Well, everything is being lifted for the most part. The federal stuff, I don't know. They're going to use Ukraine as the distraction now for everything. But our stuff is our vaccine passport's supposed to be gone on Tuesday. And then within 2 weeks after that, we're supposed to lose the mask mandate. And then I can finally get my ass back in the gym. That's where we're at right now.
Awesome. Could be worse, I suppose. And hopefully by next week we'll have an American trucker convoy to talk about. They might get stopped dead in their tracks. I don't really know what to expect from them.
I expect them to block off DC, basically. They've done it before. They'll do it again, I think.
Well, I hope so. I hope this is just...
Turn it up, Jordan.